How are y'all? My comments are coming up over on the side. Today we are talking about how to get started with cookie decorating. So if you've ever thought about maybe trying cookie decorating, or if you've ever thought about maybe just doing it as a hobby, or if you thought, I could make a business out of that, that's where I was about a year and a half ago. Um, let's see. I think the first part of what I was saying might have gotten cut off a little bit, but that's okay. Hi, how are y'all? I'm Sarah Grace. I teach beginners how to decorate sugar cookies. And today I'm going to be telling you all about how to get started. So if I were starting over from square one, knowing what I know now, this is how I would start my cookie decorating journey. Let me know when y'all are here over here down below. And I want to know, have you made your first set of cookies yet? Are you just kind of in the figuring out if I want to try it, learning, researching, watching videos phase? Are you in the actually starting to practice phase? Are you in the kind of honing my skills and getting better phase? I remember my husband had to have gallbladder surgery the year that I started cookie decorating. And it actually probably kind of was the catalyst for that. He went to the doctor having pain with his gallbladder, and I was sitting in the chair beside him scrolling Facebook, because I was waiting on him to get done in the office and all that. And so I came across these cookies and I thought they were cute. And then I went down the Pinterest rabbit hole. And then in the course of his surgery and a couple other doctor's visits, I ended up scrolling Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest again because, that's it just seems like that's naturally what you end up doing. And I just ended up deciding that I wanted to try it. And that's when I kind of started getting this information overwhelm. It was like, okay, there are all these groups out here that'll tell me all about this new skill and answer my questions. There are all these blog posts, there are all these videos. It's just so much. And if you're like me, or even if you're not, I feel like everybody's this way. You just get overwhelmed by all of it. You feel like you have to watch it all and know it all before you start, and that's not the case. I think that you can get started really simply and get started really easily, and I'm going to tell you all about that today. So in the comments, tell me if you've started yet, if you're thinking about starting, kind of where you're at in your process. So I've got a little free guide that you can download. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about that. Y'all overlook my horribly mangled iPad. I'm a mom of two, and they are all about some iPad time, but they aren't always gentle with it. And some of it's my fault because I have dropped this thing a few times. This is the Quick Start Decorating Guide, and I've got it pulled up here where you can kind of see. I've got just a little bit of text telling you all about it and my top tips for each part of the cookie process. So like you have your dough and you're actually making the cookies, your icing, and you're decorating. So I've got just like a few basic techniques that you can use and my recipe. So this is just a really quick make your first set of cookies easy guide. So the first thing I want to tell you about is the process that you'll follow with each set of cookies that you make. So every time you make a set of cookies, every time you go into the kitchen and make a batch, you're going to have this same kind of, there are the steps that you follow, of course, but there's also this process of learning a new skill, which you would do with any new skill that you're learning. So that is make, assess, adjust. So if you're making your first set of cookies, you get in there, you try it, you assess, you figure out what worked, what didn't, what can I change next time to make it better, and then you adjust. You might go do a little research, find a few resources, look at some videos, and then decide how you're going to adjust. But the main thing here, I think, is just to remember that practice is the best way to get started, and practice is the best way to learn. So spending a lot of time, I spend a lot of time scrolling videos and looking at pictures. Like I said, I kind of got in that rabbit hole of learn everything before I start, which in a way was helpful, but in some ways it was also hard to actually get in there and get started because I felt like I had so much to learn before I actually stepped into the kitchen. So my advice is just start. You know, pick a day, put it on your calendar, and say, this is the day I'm going to make my first test batch of sugar cookies. So one of the things I had written in this little guide is that cookie decorating is an art, not a science. And so with a science, you have this exact formula of this is how you get this outcome. And with cookies, that's not always the case. As you know, if you've ever made them, you might have some humidity, you might have some different brand of butter sometimes even affects your recipe. So just pick a recipe that you think sounds good and go for it. That's my best advice, is just to get started. Now, you don't need much to get started. A lot of people think that they have to go and buy out Hobby Lobby before they start decorating cookies, and that's not the case either. I bought a Scribe, some food coloring, and I didn't even buy tipless bags until I was already decorating for money, for professionally decorating. So I've listed a few things here in this guide that I think would be helpful to you as you get started. Sorry, y'all, I had to get a drink. I've had way over the recommended limit of coffee today. Has anyone else had too much coffee today? It's fine. I'm not judging. I'm looking to see, I can see like that there are people watching, but I can't see the names of who's watching. Normally I would say hi to y'all, but I apologize that I can't see exactly who's watching today. For some reason, my computer's set up a little differently with this webcam. So anyway, what we were talking about was what you need to get started. So if I were recommended to you exactly what I would have liked to have had when I got started, I had a KitchenAid mixer, and I think it made my cookie decorating process a lot easier. I love my KitchenAid. I wouldn't take anything for it. Kane's been working on it for me this week because it was trying to kind of malfunction on me. I've put it through a lot, so I don't blame it. But anyway, I would not take nothing for my stand mixer, for my KitchenAid mixer. And if you don't have a KitchenAid, you don't have to worry about that. Like, you can get a stand mixer with a paddle attachment. The paddle attachment is the main thing to me, because if you're going to be making royal icing with a whisk, it can be done. It can be done with a hand mixer. It's just a little bit more labor intensive. You really have to make sure you're circling the entire bowl as you do it. And sometimes it can cause a few more air bubbles, and you have to be really careful about over mixing your icing, because sometimes it won't dry if it's over mixed. So it just kind of makes it easier if you have that mixer with a paddle attachment. But I looked on Amazon today, and there is one on there that has a paddle attachment for $70. That's the cheapest one I could find. The other ones were on stands, but they were pretty much a hand mixer just on a stand. But you can get a simple mixer with a paddle attachment for $70, and I think that would be a good investment if you're thinking about starting cookie decorating. If you want to use it as an excuse to go get you a y'all, a KitchenAid. If you want to use it as an excuse to go get you a KitchenAid, then go for it, because I will never advise against getting a KitchenAid. They are fantastic. Also, you're going to need some kind of piping bags. You don't have to have tipless piping bags to start out. I had decorated a few cakes in the past, and so when I got ready to try cookie decorating for the first time, I pulled out my cake decorating bags with the little metal tips and the couplers and all that. Amber Spiegel of Sweet Am's Cookies, she decorates most of her cookies with metal tips and piping bags, and they're absolutely stunning. So there's no law that says you have to have tipless piping bags. I would just advise against pulling the Ziploc, like the gallon Ziploc out, and trying to use the Ziploc, because I tried that and it gets frustrating really quickly. I thought there can't be much difference between a Ziploc and a tipless piping bag, but there is. When you cut the tip, the shape is going to be kind of flat, and it's not going to let as much icing out as you want it to. Has been my experience. So I would advise either getting some tipless piping bags from Amazon. They're like $12 for a pack of 100, y'all. They're not terribly expensive. But if you don't have them on hand and you don't want to spend the money or wait on the shipping, then use your metal popping tips that you have. In an absolute pinch, try that Ziploc. It might frustrate you a little bit, but it'll get the job done. Or you can just simply dip your cookies. If you're just wanting to work on your flavors and your consistency, you can just dip that dude in the icing and pull it back out, and you can decorate on top of that. Okay, so you need some kind of piping bags, you need a mixer of some kind, and you need something to scribe with. So when I say scribe, I'm talking about, y'all have seen the cookie videos. When they flood the cookie and they put all the icing on top, they take either a little metal stick or a toothpick and they run it around the edge and do the little tiny circles. You can use a toothpick for that. You can use a Scribe Tool that you can buy at Walmart. They've got them for $3 at Walmart. I used the same yellow Scribe Tool that I bought at Walmart when I started for really up until very recently. I lost it. I don't know where it is, but I used the same one for a year that cost $3, and it's super easy and inexpensive to buy. But if you don't even want to go get the Scribe Tool, if you just want to try it today, right now in your house with your Ziplocs and your toothpicks, go for it. No judgment. But if you want one of the really pretty Etsy ones where you can order them and they have the pretty colorful beads at the top, do that too. Whatever floats your boat. You just know that you don't have to have anything other than some kind of little stick to move that icing around. You also are going to need some kind of meringue powder. I started with pasteurized egg whites, and I think this really made it harder for me to learn that consistency. Once I got on board with the meringue powder royal icing recipe that I have now, that's included in this guide, y'all, too. If you scroll down to the last page here, it's got my recipes included on there, the sugar cookie recipe and the royal icing recipe. So you can get that there. But once I started using the meringue powder and stopped trying to use pasteurized egg whites, or like, y'all, one time I tried to pasteurize my own egg whites because I didn't want to go to the store that day. I had sleeping babies and I was like, I'm going to try this cookie decorating thing. And so I put these eggs in like the exact temperature water. It ended up making hard-boiled eggs and it was a mess. So just get the meringue powder. It's so much easier. You mix that meringue powder and warm water together in your mixer a little bit. You add your powdered sugar and let it mix, and that's royal icing. You don't need to get any more complicated than that to start. You can go to adding Karo syrup or adding flavorings and doing all that you see in the cookie groups later on, but you don't need anything but a basic meringue powder, water, powdered sugar, maybe a little vanilla extract recipe to start out with, and that will help you start to get the hang of the icing consistency when you're starting to mix the water in and making the flood and the pop and all that good stuff. You also need a gel food colorant of some kind. If you're trying to work on consistency and learning cookie decorating, the consistency is the main thing in cookie decorating. That is the foundation of being able to decorate a cookie with royal icing, is being able to make this icing into a consistency that'll cover the cookie or a consistency that'll make the decorations that you're wanting to make. So all that I'm telling you today is to try and help you get to that point of understanding consistency faster. And if you're using regular food coloring like you buy at the grocery store, that is that liquid food coloring, it will get you the color, but it will also make your icing runny. So if you're wanting to do some decorations or details with the pipe consistency and you use liquid food coloring, it's going to make your icing runnier than you want it to be. The gel food coloring allows you to get the same color without as much liquid. That's why we recommend using the gel food coloring. So you can get a couple bottles pretty inexpensively at Hobby Lobby or Walmart. I used the Color Right system when I started. It's from Wilton. I think it has like 6 colors in it. So it's pretty easy to get your hands on, and it makes learning that consistency and learning to decorate a lot easier. You can also just use plain white icing to help you start learning consistency too. There's no law that says it has to be colorful, but I know it just makes it more fun. You're also going to need something to cut out your cookies with. That can be some cute cookie cutters from Etsy. That can be the cutters from the Walmart aisle or the Hobby Lobby aisle, or that can be no cutters at all. You don't even have to have cookie cutters. I mean, I'm not going to stop you from going on an Etsy cookie cutter spree because I can relate to that. I love those pretty, colorful cookie cutters as much as the next girl. But you can use a mason jar lid as a circle cookie cutter, and you can do so much with a circle. Or you can use a pizza cutter and make little squares or rectangles, and you can do all kinds of things with just a plain, simple shape. So that's what you need to get started as far as supplies. Don't think that you have to go and buy a whole bunch of supplies or a whole bunch of fancy cookie decorating things. There are lots of specialized equipment. There's lots of specialized equipment out there and things that you can buy later on once you kind of get started. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and you don't have to learn it all in a day. It's going to take you a set or two, a batch or two, to kind of figure out if you like it or not, what you like, and how you want to do it and figure out your style. In this little guide, I've got a few of my favorite tips for each phase of cookie decorating. So I've got the cookie dough with, y'all, I don't know why my camera's going so dark. Every time I hold my iPad up to it, it like makes the background dark. But when you're making cookie dough, I'm just going to get comfy here. So I've just included a few of my favorite tips that I wish I had had when I started that I think will help you with the actual cookie part. The main thing is just to find a recipe that doesn't taste like a hockey puck and doesn't spread. And I've included my cookie recipe in here if you want to try it. I like it. I think it's a good recipe, but it's a great jumping off point. It doesn't have to be the one you use forever. Any recipe that you use doesn't have to be the one you use forever. You can work on it and adapt it. If you're in the Sarah Grace Cookie Co. Tips and Tricks group on Facebook, I did a little post recently that said how to adapt your recipe, how to adjust your recipe for your tastes and your likes and dislikes. So you can check that out and kind of help you work on your recipe after you get started. I've also got some tips and tricks for rolling out your cookie dough, how to make that easier. Silicone baking mats are your friend. That might need to go on the essentials list. You don't absolutely have to have it. You can do a floured countertop, but a silicone baking mat does make your life easier. So does parchment paper. And you do not have to have the fancy dough roller that has the little guides on the side with the color coding and all that. Those are cute, but they'll leave lines in your cookie dough. I like to use a paint stick or cake dowels. You can buy cake dowels at Walmart or Hobby Lobby that will do the same thing. You put them under either side of your dough roller and just roll on top of them. You can also do that with paint sticks or pencils in a pinch if you can't find anything else, which I've been there. Now, I've also got some tips about royal icing, and royal icing consistency. That is kind of the beast, like I said, of cookie decorating. That is the hardest part to get down pat. It is the part that everybody has to work on and practice, and it'll get there. It just takes time. You just have to try it, see how it goes, and adjust next time, just like I said. There is a link to a video here. If you click on these little links, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. It's probably going to make it super dark again. If you click on the link, it'll take you to a video where I show you my method for mixing icing. I use a ice cream scoop and a teaspoon to help me kind of get close to the consistency I want, and then I can adjust from there. It isn't exact. There's no exact method for mixing icing, but this will get you close, and it will kind of help you get started so that you can adjust from there. Whoops. Lost my spot, y'all. Here we go. I also have a little bit, sorry y'all, I was getting a telemarketer call. Don't y'all love those? Your car's warranty is about to expire. How many times a day do y'all hear that? I feel like I get those calls all the time. Moving on. I've included some basic decorating techniques. You don't need to try hand painting or like, I don't know, what are some, like making a full-on self-portrait on your first set of cookies. Just pick a technique or two that you think look fun and try it. It's about having fun and enjoying that first set. I've included a few of the things that I would recommend for a first timer. Piping and flooding, of course, that's kind of the foundation, and I've given you a little bit about that. Wet on wet is a super simple technique that's really easy to do and makes some really cute patterns. And marbling or dipping cookies, that's another really easy one to do that makes some really impactful looks. Like, even if you want to use your first set of cookies as like something that you might send with your child to school for Valentine's Day or something, this is one you can get your kids in the kitchen and involved with, that marbling, where you just put a little bit of icing in a saucer, sprinkle a little icing with another color on top. You do like a zigzag. I've got a TikTok about that if you want to check it out. And you just dip it and pull it back out. And it makes this cute little marbled look here. Woo. This one. This is the marbled look. Okay. Well, I hope that helps y'all as y'all are kind of thinking about getting started with cookie decorating. Download that guide if you want a little extra help. I can already see a couple people are already downloading it on my phone. I'm getting notifications. Thank y'all so much. And if y'all have any questions or anything that I can help you with when it comes to your cookie decorating or baking or anything like that, let me know in the comments. Do you want to see more recipes? Do you want to see more like cookie decorating tutorials and tips? Just let me know what I can help y'all with. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.